Morning. Morning. forgot that one. Hey, hello. Happy New Year. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great holiday. I guess holidays are over now, but for some people. They're over for me. Hey, thanks for the super heart. Thank you. I think that was a super heart, right? Yeah. I'm at our new store. This is our Surrey location. It's about a 40-minute drive away from my house, so I have to get up a little bit earlier to get here. And the oven is a lot smaller. Oh, thank you so much. This oven is a lot smaller. It's about half the size of all of our other ovens. So it's a little tricky because the temperature fluctuates a lot more because the air circulates through the oven a lot more quickly. So you have to keep the flames higher. At least I think that's what I need to do. I have only baked in this oven a couple times, so see how it goes today. I'm only able to bake 20 bagels per batch. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this oven's way smaller, so it's the boards are like 3 feet short, 3 feet shorter than the other boards. So yeah. Oh my god, that last part is so hard. I need to practice it a bit more. I think my bagels are coming up here though. My first thought was he lied in every word. That hoary cripple with malicious eye, Askins to watch the working of his lie on mine, and mouth scarce able to afford suppression of the glee that pursed and scored its edge at one more victim gained thereby. What else should he be set for with his staff? What save to waylay with his lies and snare all travelers who might find him posted there? And ask the road, I guessed what skull-like laugh would break, what crutch can write my epitaph of pastime in the dusty thoroughfare. If at his counsel I should turn aside into ominous track which all agree hides the dark tower, yet acquiescingly I do turn as he pointed, neither pride nor hope rekindling at the end descried, so much as gladness some end might be. For what with my whole world wide wondering, what with my search drawn out through years, my hope dwindled into a ghost not fit to cope with that obstreperous joy success would bring, I hardly tried now to rebuke the spring my heart made finding failure in its scope. As a sick man very near to death seems dead indeed, and feels begin and end the tears, and takes the farewell of each friend, and hears one bid the other go, draw breath freely outside, since all is over, he saith, and the blow fallen no grieving can amend. While some discuss if near the grave be room enough for this, and when a day suits best for carrying the corpse away, with caribou banners, scarfs, and staves, and still the man who's all and only craves, he may not shame such tender love and stay. Thus I had for so long suffered in this quest, heard failure prophesied so oft be writ, so many times among the band to wit. The knights who to dark towers search address their steps, that just fail as they seem best, and all doubt was now should I be fit. So quiet as despair I turned from him, that hateful cripple, out of his highway into the path he pointed. All the day had been a dreary one at best, and dim was settling into its close, yet shot one grim red leer to see the plain catch its astray. For mark, no sooner was I fairly found, pledged to the plain after a pace or two, then pause and throw backward a last view. Over the safeward 'twas gone, grey plain all round, nothing but plain to the horizon's bound. I must go on, naught else remained to do. So on I went. I think I never saw such starved ignoble nature. Nothing throve, for flowers as well expect a cedar grove, but chortle and spurge according to their law might propagate their kind with none to awe. You'd think a burr had been a treasure trove. No Penry and Nerdness ingramate, in some strange sort were the land's portion. See or close your eyes, said nature peevishly, and nothing skills. I can't help my case. 'Tis last judgment's fire must cure this place. Calcine its clods and set my prisoners free. If there pushed any ragged thistle stalk above its mates, its head was chopped. The bents were jealous else, what made the holes and rents in the dock's harsh source leave. Bruised as to balk all hope of greenness, 'tis a brute must walk, pashing their life out with a brute's intents. As for the grass, it grew as scarce as hair and leprosy. Thin, dry blades pricked the mud which underneath looked kneaded up with blood. One stiff, blind horse, as every bone to stare, stood stupefied however he came there, thrust out past service in the devil's stud. Alive, he might be dead for aught I know, with red, gaunt, and calloped neck astrain, and shut eyes beneath the rusty mane. Seldom one such grotesqueness with such woe. I never saw a brute I hated so. He must have been wicked and deserved such pain. I shut my eyes and turned them on my heart, as a man calls for wine before he fights. I asked one draught of earlier, happier sights. Ere fitly I could hope to play the part. Think first, fight afterwards, soldier's art. One taste of old times, that's all to rights. Not it. I fancied Cuthbert's reddening face beneath its garniture of curly gold. Dear fellow, till I almost felt him fold. An arm in mine to fix me to that place, that way he used. Alas, one night's disgrace, oh, had my heart been fire and left it cold. Giles, then, the soul of honor, there he stands, frank as 10 years ago when knighted first. An honest man should dare, he said he durst. Good, but the scene chips, fall what hangman's hand, pinned to his breast a parchment, his own brand reads it, poor traitor spit upon and cursed. Better this present than a past like that, back therefore to my darkening path. Will sound the sight as far as the eye can strain. Will the night send a howl or a bat, I asked, when something on the dismal flat came to arrest my thoughts and change their train. A sudden river crossed my path, as unexpected as a serpent came. No tides congenial to the glooms. This as it frothed by might have been a bath for the fiend's glowing hoof, to see the wrath of its black eddies be spat with plates and spoons. So petty yet so spiteful, all along low scrubby alders kneeled over it. Drenched willows flung them headlong into fit of rout despair, the suicidal throng. The river which had done them all the wrong, whatever that was, rolled by, deterred no whit. Which while I forded, good saints, how I feared to set my foot upon a dead man's cheek. Each step or feel the spear and thrust to seek. The hollows tangled his hair or beard. It may have been a water rat I speared, but ugh, it sounded like a baby shriek. Glad was I to reach other bank, now for a better country. Vain presage, who were the strugglers? What war did they wage? Whose savage trample could thus pad the dank soil to a clash? Toads in a poisoned tank, or wild cats in a red-hot cage. The fight must full of seeming that foul search. What penned them there with all the plain to choose? No footsteps leading to that horrid muse. None out of it, mad bruid set to work their brains, no doubt, like galley slaves at Turk. Pitfall's pastime, Christians against Jews. And more than that, a furlong on, why there? What bad use was that engine for, that wheel, or brake not real, that harrow fit to reel men's bodies out like silk, with all the air of Tophet's tool, on earth left unaware, or brought to sharpen its rusty teeth of steel. Then came some stub ground, once of wood, next to marsh it would seem, now mere earth, desperate and done with, so the fool finds mirth, makes a thing and mars it, till his mood changes and off he goes, within a rude bog, clay and marsh, sand and stark black dearth. Now blotches rankling colored gay and grim, now patches where some leanness of the soils broke into moss or substances like oils. Then came a palsied oak, a cleft in him, a distorted mouth that splits its rim, gaping at death and dies while it recoils. As far as ever from the end, not in the distance, but the eking not, point my footsteps further at the thought. Great black bird, Apollyon's bosom friend, sailed past and beat his wide wings dragon pen. It brushed my cap, perchance the guide I sought. For looking up where I somehow grew, the plain had given place all round to mountains with such names to grace near heights and heaps now stolen in view. How thus they surprised me, solve it you. How to get from there was no clear case. Yet half I seemed to recognize some trick of mischief had happened to me. God knows when, in a bad dream perhaps, here ended then progress this way, when in the very nick of getting up one more time, came a clink as when the trap ships were in the den. Burningly it came upon me all at once, this was the place. Those two hills crouched like two bulls, locked horn in fight, while to the left a tall scalp mountain, guns doddered and dozing, at the very nonce after a lifetime of training for the sight. One in the midst lay but the tower itself, the round squat turret, blind as a fool's heart, built of brown stone without a counterpart in the whole world. The tempest's mocking elf points to the shipman thus, the unseen shelf he strikes on only when timbers start. Not see, when noise was not see because of night perhaps, why day came back to that. Behind it left the dying sunset, kindled through a cleft, the hills like two giants in the hunting lay, chin upon head to see the game at bay. They'll stab and end the creature to the heft. Not here, when noise was everywhere and told, increasing like a bell, names in my ears, of lost adventurers, my peers, how such was strong and such was bold, and such was fortunate, yet each of old, lost, one moment knelled the woe of years. There they stood, ranged along the hillside met, to view the last of me, a living frame, for one more picture in a sheet of flame. I saw them and knew them all, and yet, dauntless, a slughorn to my lips I set, and blew, child Roland to a dark tower came. Hamlin towns in Brunswick, my famous Hanover city. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its wall on the southern side. A pleasanter spot you've never spied. But when begins my ditty, almost 500 years ago, to see the townsfolk suffer so from vermin was a pity. Rats, they fought the dogs and killed the cats, and bit the babies in the cradles, and ate the cheeses from the baths, and licked the soup from the cooks on ladles, split open the kegs of salted sprats, made nests in men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chat by drowning out their speaking with shrieking and squeaking 50 different sharps and flats. At last the people in a body to the town hall came flocking. "'Tis clear," cried they, "our mayor is a naughty, and as for our corporation, shocking to think we buy gowns lined with ermine for dolts who won't or can't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. You hope because you're old and obese to find in the furry civic robes ease. Rouse up, sirs, give your brains a racking to find the remedy we are lacking, or sure as fate will send you packing." At this, the mayor and corporation quaked with a mighty consternation. An hour they sat in council. At length the mayor broke silence. "For a gilder eyed my ermine gown sell. I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one rack one's brain. I'm sure my poor head aches again. I scratch it so, but all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap." Just as he said this, what should hap at the chamber door but a gentle tap. "Bless us," cried the mayor, "what's that?" With the corporation as he sat, looking little to wonder his fat. Nor brighter were his eyes, nor moister than a too long opened oyster, save when it knew his paunch grew mutinous for a plate of turtle green and glutinous. Only a scraping of shoes on a mat, anything like the sound of a rat makes my heart go pit-a-pat. "Come in," cried the mayor, looking bigger, and in did come the strangest figure. His long queer coat from heel to head was half yellow and half red, and he himself was tall and thin, with sharp blue eyes, each like a pin, and light loose hair and swarthy skin, nor tuft of hair on cheek nor beard on chin. But lips were smile went out and in, there was no guessing his kith or kin, and nobody could enough admire this tall man in his quaint attire. Quoth one, "It's as my great-grandsire, starting up at the trump of doom's tone, I'd walk this way from his painted tombstone." He advanced towards the council table, and "Please, your honor," said he, "I am able, by means of secret charm to draw all the creatures living beneath the sun, that crawl or swim or fly or run, after me so as you never saw. And I chiefly use my charm on creatures that do people harm, the mole and toad and newt and viper, and people call me the Pied Piper." And here they noticed round his neck a scarf of red and yellow stripe to match with his coat of self-same check, and at scarf's end hung a pipe, and his fingers they noticed were ever straying, as if impatient to be playing upon this pipe, as low it dangled over his vesture so old-fangled. "Yes," said he, "Pied Piper as I am, in Tartary I fled the camp, last June from his huge swarms of gnats. I eased in Asia the Nizam of a monstrous brood of vampire bats. And as for what your brain bewilders, if I rid your town of rats, will you give me 1,000 guilders?" 50,000 was the exclamation of an astonished mayor and corporation. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Like a musical adept to blow his pipe, his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if an army muttered, and a muttering grew to a grumbling, and a grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses came the rats tumbling. Great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, grey rats, honey rats, brave old plotters, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, families by tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the Pied Piper for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing. Step for step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished, save one who stout as Julius Caesar, swam across and lived to carry, as he the manuscript he cherished, to Ratland home his commentary, which was, at first shrill notes of the pipe, I heard it sound as a scraping tripe, and putting apples wondrous ripe into the cider presses bright. and moving away of pickle tub boards, leaving a jar of conserve cupboards, and drawing with corks of train oil flasks, and break loops of butter casks. And it seemed as if a voice, sweeter far than by harp or by psaltery, is breathed, called out, "Oh, rats, rejoice! The world has grown to a vast psaltery. Some munch on, crunch on, take your nunch on. Breakfast, supper, dinner, lunch on, and just a bulky sugar punch on. Already staved like the great sun shone. Gracious, scarce an inch before me. Just me thought it had come for me. I found the western rolling over me. You should have heard the Hamlin people ring the bells, they rock the steeple. Go, cried the mayor, get long poles, poke out the nets and block up the holes. Consult with carpenters and builders, and leave in our town not even a trace of the rats. When suddenly up the face of the piper perked in the marketplace. The first, if you please, my 1,000 guilders. 1,000 guilders. The mayor looked blue, so did the corporation too. For council dinners may wear havoc with parade, Moselle, Vin, de Gras, Pop, and half the money would replenish their cellars big as blood of Rhenish, to pay this sum to a wondering fellow, with gypsy coat of red and yellow. Besides, quoth the mayor with a knowing wink, our business was done at the river's brink. We saw with our eyes the vermin sink. What's dead can't come to life, I think. So, friend, we're not folks to shrink from our duty of giving you something to drink, and a matter of money to put in your poke. But as for the guilders, what we spoke of them, as you well know, was in joke. Besides, our losses have made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders, come, take 50. The piper's face fell and he cried, no trifling, I can't wait beside. I promise a visit by dinner time, Baghdad, and accept the crime of the head cook's potage. All he's rich in, for having left in the Caleb's kitchen, of a nest of scorpions, no survivor. With him I prove no bargain driver. With you don't think I'll bait a stiver. And folks who put me in a passion, they find me pipe after another fashion. How, cried the mayor, do you think I brook, being worse treated than a cook, insulted by a rival, with idle pipe and vegetable, threaten us, fellow, do your worst, blow your pipe there till you burst. Once more he stepped into the street, and to his lips again laid his long pipe and smooth straight cane, and ere he blew 3 notes, such sweet soft notes as yet musicians cunning never gave the enraptured air. There was a rustling that seemed like the bustling of merry crowds justling and pitching and hustling, small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping, mill tongues chattering, like foals in the farmyard where barley is scattering. Out came the children running, all the little boys and girls, with rosy cheeks and flaxen curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping around merrily after the wonderful music with shouting and laughter. The mayor was dumb and the council stood as if they're changed into blocks of wood, unable to move a step or cry, to the children merrily skipping by, could only follow with an eye that joyous crowd at the piper's back, and how the mayor was on the rack, and the wretched council's bosoms beat as the piper turned from the high street to where the Weser rolled its waters, right in the way of their sons and daughters. However, he turned from south to west, and to club or hail his steps addressed, and after him the children pressed. Great was the joy in every breast. He never crossed the mighty top. He's forced to let the piping drop, and we shall see our children stop. When lo, they reached the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern was suddenly hollowed. The piper advanced, and the children followed. When all were in to the very last, the door in the mountainside shut fast. Did I say all? No, one was lame, and could not dance a whole of the way. And in after years, if you'd blame his sadness, he was used to say, "It's dull in our town since my playmates left. I can't forget that I'm bereft of all the pleasant sights they see, which the piper also promised me. For he led us, he said, to a joyous land, joining the town in just at hand, where waters gushed and fruit trees grew, and flowers put forth a fairer hue, and everything was strange and new. The sparrow was bright and a peacock here, and their dogs outran our fellow deer, and honeybees had lost their stings, and horses were born with eagle's wings. And just as I became assured my lame foot be speedily cured, the music stopped, and I stood still, and found myself outside the hill, left behind against my will, to go now limping as before, and never hear of that country more. Alas, alas for Hamelin, there came into many a burgher's pate a text which says in heaven's gate, opes the ring at an easy rate, as the needle's eye takes a camel wind. The mayor sent east, west, north, and south to offer the piper by word of mouth, wherever it was men's lot to find him, silver and gold to his heart's content, if only he'd return the way he went, and bring the children behind him. But when they saw 'twas lost endeavor, and piper and dances were gone forever, they made a decree that lawyers never should think their records dated duly, if after the day of the month and year these words do not as well appear. And so long after what happened here, on the 22nd of July, 1376, in the better memory to fix, the place in the children's last retreat, they called it the Pied Piper Street, where anyone playing pipe or tabor was short for his future lose his labor, nor suffered they hostelry or tavern, shock with mirth the street so solemn. And opposite the place of the cavern, they wrote the story on a column, and on a great church window painted, the same to make the world acquainted, how their children are stolen away, and there it stands this very day. And I must not admit to say, that in Transylvania there is a tribe of alien people who ascribe the way and dress of which their neighbors lay such stress, to their fathers and mothers having risen out of some subterranean prison, into which they were Japan, a long time ago in a mighty band, out of Hamlin towns in Brunswick land, but how or why they don't understand. So, Lily, let me and you be wipers of scores out with all men, especially pipers. And if they should pipe us free from rats and mice, if we promise them aught, let us keep our promise. Good morning. That was the Pied Piper of Hamlin by Robert Browning. Oh. Oh. Hello. Hey. Oh. Let me tell you of the story of Roland Pied and the Oven Blade. There once was a young man named Roland Pied who played the recorder when he wasn't baking bagels. One day he was walking through a park and playing his recorder to rest a while from all his baking, when suddenly he spied a corpse lying on the ground beneath a swarm of flies. He put down his recorder, walked over to the corpse, shooed the flies away, and covered the dead body with stones. Returning to his oven later that day, he found that his oven blade had gone on by itself and already baked half the bagels he needed that day. From that day on, Roland Pied was the happiest baker alive. He would bake until he was tired, and then he would pull his recorder out of his pocket while his oven blade went on by itself. But Roland Pied lived in a town whose mayor did not admire his skill and was jealous of his fame. So the mayor devised a plan to rid the town of Roland. In the beginning, he said that Roland was a good worker, but lazy. Next, he said that Roland baked a whole lot, but badly. Then he accused Roland of being a sorcerer, and the people turned on him. Roland Pied therefore took his recorder and left his home behind. When Roland came to a neighboring town, he went to all the business owners, but none of them would give him any work. Finally, he met an old busker and asked him for work to keep body and mind together. "Come along with me," said the old man, "and we will share alms." So Roland Pied and the old man started going around and singing, "Baker, why do you bear those silent things? Baker, why do you bear those silent things? Baker, how did you forget to stand where your feet are? Baker, no woman loves your wealth, although it is golden and good for her health. Baker, you are too dirty for a lover to wish to preen. Your limbs are the knots and cords of an old-fashioned machine. Baker, line the rings and bash the boards. You don't need their applause for a thing that is yours. You are a baker and are what you are, not by a miracle, but by the work of your arms. Baker, stand where your feet are. Everybody gave alms to the old man, but to Roland Pide they said, "What is a young man like you out begging? Why don't you work for a living?" "Nobody will hire me," replied Roland Pide. "That's what you say. There's a king with so many hungry soldiers that he will pay good wages to anyone willing to feed them." So Roland Pide went to the king's kitchen and took the old man whose alms he'd been sharing. The oven had never been used by anyone. Roland Pide mixed the dough, then he rolled it into rings, then he boiled them, dressed them with seeds, and baked them until they were golden brown. Then he tossed them into a crate to cool down. Whenever Roland wearied of baking, he would play his recorder, and once he was weary of playing his recorder, he would sing, "Baker, why do you bear those silent things? Baker, how did you forget to stand where your feet are? Baker, no woman loves your wealth, although it is golden and good for her health. Baker, you are too dirty for a lover to wish to preen. Your limbs are the knots and cords of an old-fashioned machine. Baker, line the rings and bash the boards. You don't need their applause for a thing that is yours. You are a baker and are what you are, not by a miracle, but by the work of your arms. Baker, be who you are." Hearing the singing, a princess looked out the window. She saw Roland Pide and fell in love with him. But she was a princess and he a baker. The king would never consent to their marriage. So they decided to run away together. They fled at night in a boat. When they were already on the high seas, Roland remembered the busker. He said to his beloved, "We must fetch the old man. We can't, and since he shared his alms with me, we can't go off and leave him like that." At that very moment, the old man came up behind the boat, walking on the water as though it had been dry land. Reaching the boat, he said, "We agreed to share everything we had, and I shared everything I own. Now you have the king's daughter, and must give half of her to me." At this he gave Roland Pide a knife to cut his bride in half. Roland Pide took the knife with a trembling hand. "You are right," he said. "You are perfectly right." He was on the point of cutting his bride in half, when suddenly the old man stopped him. "Stop! I knew you were a just man. I am the dead man, mind you, whom you buried with stones. Go now, and may the two of you always be happy." The old man walked away on the waves. The boat came to an island rich in all good things, with a princely palace awaiting the newlyweds. That was Roland Pide and the Oven Blade. I'm going to take a batch of bagels out of here. Oh, thank you. He didn't cut her in half. I guess that's a good thing. That constitutes a good ending. I guess those are all cutting. I'm going to leave those a little longer. This one needs to go to the back of the oven, so you're not getting big. Oh my god. Another way. guess these are. I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. 5 years. I started in January of 2014. I've been doing the same job since then. January 2014 was when I started doing this. Why are you I have one more. I can do the first part of the Declaration of Independence. I haven't practiced it much though, so I might screw it up. But I just gotta do it a job. Yeah, we do cream cheese. Yeah, we do cream cheese and Montreal smoked meat. I don't eat a lot of red meat, so I don't eat. Actually, I don't like cream cheese, and I don't really like smoked meat. I love bagels though, but I usually just get like peanut butter and jam, or I like hummus, butter. Oh, butter's the best thing on a bagel. You know, nobody needs cream cheese with butter. I'm not a big fan of cream cheese. I love dairy, but I don't know. There's something about cream cheese I don't like much. But it feels too heavy or something. Too heavy in the gut. My dietary regimen is flexitarian. So I try to eat as much plant, like my diet is plant-based, about 80% plant-based, and then the rest is dairy and chicken, turkey, and fish. I don't eat a lot of red meat. I'll eat red meat once in a while, but I'm not a big fan of red meat either. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them to another, and assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. A decent respect of the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that the securities rights governments instituted among man, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed, and whenever any government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to themselves seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes. And experience accordingly hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer when evils are sufferable than right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they have become accustomed. But when long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces the design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thanks for watching. Future security. Where was I? I lost my place. No, I don't really want to work in a crematorium. Their right, it is their duty to it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the long sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The present history of the King of Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. One day God said, this is what I'll do. I'll send down my son and I'll send him down to you to clear up this humpity-bumpity hullabaloo. His name will be Christ and you'll never wear shoes, and his friends will call him the King of the Jews. He didn't come in a plane, he didn't come in a jeep, he didn't come in the pouch of a high-jumping bovee. He rode on the back of a black sassatoo, the blackiest creature you ever could view. He rode into Jerusalem, home of the grumpy Jews, where false prophets were worshipped, some even in twos. There was Murray von Murr and Genghis Vavuz, the one you could worship taking a snooze. Christ spoke from a mound, which is a pile of ground, and people gathered around without making a sound. Thus he spoke, sin in socks, socks full of sin. How shall we quiet this Jehovah you bid? Do unto others as others do unto you. That includes you, Timothy Foo. And one Pharisee said to another he knew, what shall we do about this uppity Jew? Wash him in wine and make him all clean, and into Sam Fiddle's crucifixion machine. Twirl the whirl and release the glees, and in go the nails as fast as you please. And he said as he bled, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, because they walk through this world wearing two crappity shoes. Amen.